And we have the whole gang is here. We have Lana in Hawaii. We have John in Ocean Grove. We're in Bradley Beach, and Dee's in Florida, and Judy's in the Hamptons, and Nancy's in Lindenhurst, and Barbara's still in Virginia Beach.
Okay, I got the point.
And I'm in Florida.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Florida too.
Not the good one, though.
Not the good one, no. Agree.
And how are you doing today, Marybeth?
I'm doing okay. Good. Yeah, glad to be here.
It's so good. You look great in red.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And where are you? Are you sitting in your bedroom? Is that where you are?
I'm sitting in my bedroom and I had the computer turned around, but then the light wasn't really, the light's funny on the screen.
Right.
Eye prescription. So we turned around and that's my bookcase.
Yes.
So skew, but yeah. So
It looks good. You look great. You look great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think the gang is all here.
Okay.
And we're looking forward to listening to your essay.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, this my essay, it's called Don't Mind Me. I believe curiosity doesn't always kill the cat. It's a hot August day, Springfield, Mass. 1 week until kindergarten. Terrified. I mean, I love nursery school, and my teacher, Mrs. Dragon, nothing like her name. She was young and pretty, and she smelled nice. I mean, these are crucial components to a child's sense of well-being. Her long brown hair would brush her shoulder if she leaned over your desk and say, "Very nice." But the kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Ianello, she was like old and she had like this scary voice quality. And I could tell that she wore polyester because of her sex. Plus, I had seen her wrath in the hall. "Miss, empty barrels make a lot of noise." That finger, I found out later, in the following year in grammar school, all the nuns have them. I had to make a stand. I told my mom I had a terrible stomach ache. And I mean, I told her I thought it was going to last about 6 months. This tactic wasn't working. I told her I didn't want to go. And eventually she made me go because she brought out the tone. All parents have a variety of tones they use to control their children. This tone was the equivalent of a 20-year bottle of Macallan that's only brought out for company. It's meant to defeat. Now, Marybeth. In addition, my mother had a massive internal library of sighs, hisses, and stifles. She was like a breath contortionist when she was actually breathing. Mrs. Ianello, when we got to the school, greeted us at the door. And I saw that finger coming out and she tapped it on the clipboard. And this might be Marybeth, she said. As she leaned towards me, I heard a gas sound. I knew this was going to be worse than I thought. My mother said, she poked me in the shoulder and said I was very happy to be there. And then at the moment she pulled her arm away, I think Mrs. Ianello noticed that I was scared. So she turned to my mother and said, "You could sit with the other mothers if Marybeth is nervous." My mother gave me that tight-lipped look. "I really," she said, and then she knew she was defeated. She was caught. Mrs. Ianello continued to point with that finger. "They're right over there." My mother didn't quite catch on to this interactive parenting part. So if this was stand up, I would have a white Bichon that would come out on stage right now and bring me the right card. That's just to cover up for these foibles. Excuse me. Where's page 3? Isn't that funny? Oh my God. it's not actually that many words. It's just the way it's laid out. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, well. Oh, okay, no page 3. So what happens next? Well, basically, my mother sat there and I kept checking to see if she was still there, as I was nervous to have her be alone with all these kids I didn't know. I eventually made a friend and I brought her over to meet my mother, but my mother had gone. At that moment, I did think I was going to have a stomach ache that would last 6 months, but it didn't. So because my mother didn't quite catch on to this interactive parenting part, I wanted to give her another opportunity or try to help her along. So I drew some pictures. She was ironing that day and I know she was busy, but when I showed her the pictures, she said, yes, Mary Beth, those are nice. And I said, well, which one do you like better? She said, well, they're both very nice. I like them both. And I kind of knew by that high-pitched sound I was to go away, but I wasn't quite satisfied. So I went back and I had a plan. I drew 2 more pictures and I came back again. This time she was more engrossed in what she was doing. So I said, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I held up my pictures proudly. You just showed me that. No, it's a different one, I said. It's very nice, dear. Well, which one do you like better? They're both really nice. I like them both the same. Really? I said. Mom, the lines. Do you see this one over here? It was a bunny. I purposely colored out of the lines. And she just looked at me and sighed. And I thought to myself, is it me? Well, my mother lacked in parental initiative. My father more than made up for. He would pick me up and swing me around, so happy to see me when he got home from work. He would chauffeur me and my friends and I to ice skating, pizza parties. He told my friends corny jokes and made him laugh. And my mother, upon seeing this, would make more of an effort. She never wanted me to feel bad. I mean, in fact, if I came home and I thought someone didn't like me, it was often her that would say, now, Mary Beth, I think you're being oversensitive. It should send me along on my reassured way until I passed my brother in the hall, who obviously had been eavesdropping. Just because you think people are out to get you doesn't mean that they're not. What a jerk, I thought. And then he could read me too, it seemed, because he'd turn around and say, why don't you run around the block 3 times and come back twice? My mother always also impressed upon me the importance of good manners. My best friend Susan was Italian, and dinners at her house were animated and lively, and they ate meatballs and wrapped their spaghetti around the fork instead of cutting it up like we did. And they'd often invite me to dinner, so I would call my mom. Mary Beth, when you see that they're making dinner, come home. They're only asking you because you're standing there. So Susan would call on my behalf. Good plan, I thought. And my mother, vulnerable to appeasement, would say yes. Oh, but when I got home, I was in trouble. I knew. Because of the yelling or slamming of pots and pans, because of the amount of audible air in the room. Well, I hope you would at least help to clear up the table and help with the dishes. I was always left baffled by this. I really wanted my mother to get the interactive parenting thing, so I'd ask her to do things like go ice skating. And when she'd say no, I'd kind of press a little bit. And I'd negotiate. I learned negotiating with her. Okay, how about if we just go for 1 hour? She'd give me a look. Susan's mother wants to know why you never go. Ha, it seems to work because she gave in. I was so excited. And we skated along and I was so happy, waving at all my friends until suddenly she fell. Her head split open and she went to the hospital. The police officer who drove me home didn't say much. My brother was home when I got there. Evan, she's gonna die. My brother, being a teenager, knew it would be a cardinal sin to pass up an opportunity like this. Nah, not if they can get her brains up off the ice. I prayed to God, I'll be good for the rest of my life. They did manage to get her brains up off the ice and she was fine. Actually, they never were on the ice, but had she died, it surely would have been my fault. The burden of this responsibility stayed with me. So I shelved the interactive parenting project and communication took its natural parent-teenage course and lasted through college. But I took this self-imposed sense of responsibility for everyone and everything with me into the world. It's May 1989, bright sunny day in Boston, Mass. In 1 week, I'll be a college graduate. I'm working at my part-time job, Sweet and Nasty, pornographic bakery. I told my mother it was called Sweet and Tasty. Phone calls were only about 3 minutes and 57 seconds. I worried too much about fudging my story. Most of the business was individually wrapped pornographic chocolates, various gag gifts. I did a lot of cakes for bachelor parties and college type of, parties. That afternoon, however, there was a single male browser who was lingering a little too long. I'd been flashed for the first time a month earlier, which was my fault. My friend said, guy was wearing a trench coat on a sunny day. I'm the only female working alone in a pornographic bakery. This time, however, I was prepared. Suddenly, male browser slips something into his pocket. I think it's a penis. Shit. The owner had just been complaining that we were losing merchandise. Penis pops, the mid-sized chocolate boobs mostly. He probably thinks I'm alone. But there was a temp in the back decorating cakes. This wasn't going to happen on my shift. So I boldly walked over, not even considering, there actually wasn't any button underneath to press. Excuse me, sir. He didn't respond. Look, sir, and he kind of grunted at me. And finally, I mustered up in my Fair Isle pink sweater enough courage, and I said, look, I saw you put the penis pop in your pocket. He whipped around. Huh? Suddenly it occurred to me that this man was over 6 feet and he had tattoos and a nasty scar on his face. Red flag. I started to back up. Sir, just put the penis pop back and you can go. I sighed. It always worked for my mother. I said, just put it back. He didn't, because he hadn't done anything. Suddenly, he whips it out. Only it wasn't a penis pop, but a knife, which he quickly put into my rib cage. I think you should go. I think you should go. I think you should go, sir. He did go eventually after taking the money, cutting the phone lines, and shoving me into the back of the store with the new age temp, who had had a funny feeling about her work shift. She was just thrilled that her funny feeling wasn't her boyfriend breaking up with her. I didn't know what to do. I called my mother when I got home. And there's something about talking to your parents that always regresses you like to 5, makes you feel your emotions. I started crying. It took her a moment to respond, so I continued to cue her. I can't work there anymore. And what she said after what seemed like a very pregnant pause was, can't quit now, Marybeth, they'll think you're involved. Needless to say, I did not move back to Springfield after graduation. I stayed in Boston for several years before moving to New York to become an actress. Acting school revealed many things to me, including how angry I was at my mother. And because it got in the way of my artistic endeavors, I worked to forgive her. I spent $7,459 on therapy. I took workshops, read books, complained. I even traveled to Bali on a new age quest to find myself in forgiveness to no avail. I called her after, to tell her I just completed this weekend and I wanted to share something with you. And there was no response. What's wrong? I continued. I just got in touch with my feelings and I think it's my responsibility to let you know I didn't think you were a bad mother. Hello? Why are you crying? Hello? And again in the summer, August 23rd, 2010, New York City. It's hot and I don't feel so well. In 6 days, I'll be going to Paris with my newish boyfriend, Eric. I say newish because we were actually actually met 11 years before while working in a restaurant. We were both actors. We had shared romantic interludes between our various relationships, but never formally dated. But thanks to Facebook, he had resurfaced in my life in May. So far, it had been pretty tumultuous summer, but engaging nonetheless. I was having second thoughts. I had been hoping this trip would make things better between us, but I just wasn't sure. I didn't want there to be fighting in a foreign country. It was too late to cancel. I felt responsible for potentially ruining the only 2 weeks he gets off all year. I was between a rock and a hard place. So during my run, I talked to the universe. And I said, I'm not really sure about this. I don't want to ruin the relationship, but not by not going. I know there's been a lot of volcanic activity lately, delayed flights. So universe, barring any terrorist attack or death, could you help me out? Well, let me tell you something, people, about talking to the universe. Be careful. She ain't your bitch. I came home. I didn't feel so good. I lied down on the couch with a blanket and a pillow. The next thing I knew, my friends from childhood were coming through the doors. I'm not in Paris. I'm in the hospital. There were people from my present, my past life too. My brother is there. I've had 3 seizures and have been in a coma for 10 days. And at this point, they don't know what's wrong with me. My brother notices I'm awake-ish. Hi, Marybeth. Oh, what am I doing here? I said. You had some seizures and they took you in. My friend Susan stepped forward. Almost died. As I lie there in a fog, I recall that almost dying near death generally indicates some kind of spiritual awakening. People come back at peace or even euphoric with a myriad of poignant phrases that cause people to nod reflectively. Really? And I said to the universe, did I miss something? No. I didn't even see a light. I didn't see my father, my grandmother. I mean, couldn't you even thrown in an angelic secretary could have come forth? Well, my angelic secretary, she must have said, I'm sorry, dear. They pulled the wrong number by mistake. It's not your time. Go back. I was diagnosed with West Nile virus encephalitis, which is swelling of the brain and is classified as a TBI or a traumatic brain injury. It's pretty spacey like a kid. All these people who cared about me stood there. Eric nodded vigilantly by my bed. People from my childhood, my current life, even my therapist showed up. It was really trippy. I wouldn't have attempted in my wildest dreams to bring this mix of people together. I think that's why I never had gotten married, the pressure of those table cards. Yet here it was happening effortlessly before my eyes. Everyone asked if I wanted anything. I thought I should take advantage of this moment. Yeah, pepperoni pizza. Lemonade. No, the pink kind. My mother came and even she was nice. Of course, she had the onset of dementia by that time, but it's okay. In my state, I would take it. It was like some pressure valve of worry and anxiety about getting things right had been released. Or maybe it was that I couldn't remember to be worried about what everyone else thought and felt. I just felt appreciative. The strangest thing was that my mother, it used to be painful to spend time with her. Latchkey lonely, only I wasn't alone. She had mastered the 3-minute, 59-second phone calls, and I had mastered the 48-hour visits, only with 15 minutes of real contact. And what my mother is aware that she forgets, and this is part of what's distressing her. In any given 30-minute span, we could repeat our conversation 4 or 5 times. It used to drive me crazy, and I get impatient and sigh. But after experiencing a traumatic brain injury, I now understand that feeling of knowing somewhere inside yourself you don't quite have a full grasp of things. So now I just really wanted to help her. Maybe the universe wasn't trying to keep me from fighting in a foreign country. At this point, I'm not sure what the lesson was. Experiencing a TBI made me lose parts of myself for a while, like cognition and speediness that I used to take for granted. but I also lost some of that, my anger. Dementia had caused my mother to lose parts of herself. And I realized that's not such a bad thing because in our case, it made the parenting discrepancy a little smaller. She's been able to be much kinder and I'm able to appreciate it when it comes.
Wow, Marybeth, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing your life there.
Well, I know, sorry, it was so long. I kind of I was taking what was part of a one-person show that I had done and try to clip it into a essay because I thought it had components of an essay. So that's why it was, but it does. Oh, thank you. It was long.
Oh no, it was wonderful. It really was wonderful. And I love some of the details that you were sharing along the way. Judy, do you want to say
Yeah.
something?
Well, yeah, I thought it was wonderful, Mary Beth. Thank you so much. And it's really it's a book. It's a book. It's a play or a play. It's big. It's big. And your details were all wonderful. And I identified with the beginning, of course, because I grew up in the same place you did. And I'm just curious, what church did you belong to?
Oh, I went to Holy Name.
Holy Name, right around the corner from me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, my
you.
friends went to Holy Name, some of my friends.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, yeah. But I think we're years apart, though, years apart.
Well, I was gonna say, would I know them?
Yeah, no. No, but I helped them study for their catechisms and whatever else they did. I forgot. That was fun.
Any other thoughts, folks?
And Beth?
And Beth.
Yeah. Hello. Oh, Mary Beth. That was very generous sharing on your part of your life experiences, since you were a child. And there are parallels. There was a lot that I could identify with myself, especially the mother part. And the one thing that really stuck out to me was your feeling you would have felt responsible. That you feel responsible for things out of your control, and that you might ruin, there was that possibility on your way to Paris that you would ruin your boyfriend's only 2-week vacation. I mean, you were already making yourself responsible for something that, hadn't happened, might never have happened. And I think it's something, your mother actually sounds a lot more gentle than mine. My mother was not subtle about anything. You grow up with a responsibility for things out of your control. You're responsible for everything. And it takes a toll on you, to say the least. Yeah, just all the things that you've been through just show how strong you are. And, it's something to really show appreciation and love for in yourself, because you got beyond all that. And, you still struggle with it. I still struggle with it. But you're strong, you're smart, you're very clever, you're funny. You wrote very well, really painting pictures. You know, I could see your mother ironing and you coming up with, you know, running up with 2 pictures, you know, to show her that you had drawn. So just, you know, keep moving 1 foot in front of the other. You're on the right track.
Oh, I love it. That's so great, Beth.
I
Where'd you
love
get those?
you're Victor. What?
Where'd you get those feet? I'm studying for reflexology.
Very funny.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, but you're great, and just keep going. And thank you for being vulnerable.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love you.
Love you too.
You're the best.
I guess I can go. Mary Beth, thank you. You know, like Ann Beth said, it kind of took me back to, I mean, you're younger than I am, but I think, you know, when we were in that certain era, I can relate to my mother ironing and so on. And I just avoided my mother. She was very stern. So it wasn't like she wasn't nurturing, but she, you know, she was busy too, type of thing, you know. And I could go to my father, same thing. He was, you know, it was more like a daddy's girl thing, but I would just avoid my mother. So that was the way to keep, you know, keep safe, I guess. But, you know, I love the humor wrapped in it. You know, you've had some really tough experiences. And then, you know, when you came up with the bakery, you know, the peanut, I mean, I love, it is a one-woman show or one, I think that would be a great show. And I kind of reminded me of like the back in the Christmas Story days, you know, with little Ralphie. I know it wasn't that far back, but it just brings me back to this more, this whole different era, I guess. And we were not Catholic, but our neighbors around us, there was a few Catholic neighbors, and we were all the friends were very close. And one they were Italian, the other one were Irish, but the Italians had, Tuesday was spaghetti night, and that was my favorite dinner. And they had, I don't know, stack 'em and rack 'em kids, like 5 kids, you know, in 2 bedrooms. And, you know, they really didn't probably have enough food, or, I mean, I'm sure they had enough food, but they didn't need one more mouth to feed, let's put it that way. But sometimes I would get myself invited to spaghetti nights because, and I would try to get my mother to say, you know, they have spaghetti night. Can we do that every Tuesday? You know, and she just couldn't relate to that. But yeah, thank you for sharing it. And I echo Ann Beth too. I think I was brought up to be very responsible. I was the youngest, but my grandmother lived with us. And I remember I was probably in 1st grade, no more than 2nd. And I'd have to come home for lunch every day. I walked to school and I'd have to fix her lunch because she couldn't be trusted with the stove. She was starting to fail a little bit. And I would, at that young age, have lunch with my grandmother. And if she needed soup, I cooked the soup. I can't even imagine that now. I mean, I think about a 6 or 7-year-old. And, you know, I think that stays with us. You know, when you start learning these lessons or being told certain things when you're around 5, 6, 7, that kind of shapes you. You know, it's like, again, what I say is it's not who you are, it's been who you've been told you are. So, you know, that's what we have to unravel, because honestly, as parents, our parents fucked us up. We're going to fuck up our kids. You know, it's for us to figure it out later on, right? So you're doing a great job, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You appreciate it.
Marybeth, that was awesome. you're a really great writer and you're a really great storyteller. I could totally see how this could become a one-woman show or a book or a play, or the way you told the story was beautiful, and the way you change voices of who people were talking to and the detail you use. Like I was on the edge of my seat wanting to hear more, and I loved the detail and felt like I was there and could really feel what was happening along the way. And I just love how you have these really traumatic incidents in your life and you could be vulnerable and share them, but you tell them with such a great sense of humor. And that was just, you know, you're wanting to be sad for you, and but then you make us laugh. So I just really loved that humor throughout your story. And I loved that you use the universal principle about, you know, the relationship with your mother, because I think, and as we've all shared, or Annbeth and Tammy have shared, they had the same exact experiences or similar with their mothers. And I think we all go through ins and outs with either one parent or the other. And I think you really touched upon that and allowed us to go through that with you, but we all have that in some form or another. So it is a really universal principle. And I just loved how you tied the whole thing together. And at the end, you know, you came to some kind of peace with your mother, and you brought that whole story from the beginning to the end and tied it all together, and how you both were going through an issue with your brains and could kind of come to peace with each other or understand each other. And I just thought that was beautiful. And I really could see it as a show or a book or a movie. And you are amazing. You are beautiful. You are strong, and you are resilient. And thank you for sharing that today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And who else would like to share?
Well, Marybeth, I have to say, when you lost page 3, I shook my head and just said, that's Marybeth's story. So typical Marybeth. You lost a page and you just said, ooh, I wonder how that happened. What could have happened? It didn't fluster you at all. You just carried on. Your vocabulary is excellent, so you haven't lost anything in that regard, your storytelling. But I did hook on to what Annbeth said. And as soon as you said you felt responsible, that's also typical Marybeth, that you were responsible for your mother's well-being and happiness and responsible for this boyfriend's vacation. But yet, when you were really in control of your papers and having everything in order, it didn't upset you. It was fine. So just keep being Marybeth, because that's the best.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I'll go next. I don't usually have a lot of words to say, and but gosh, I think you were making me cry, and then all of a sudden you were laughing, and it was like, oh, am I supposed to cry or laugh? And so I think I was just so entertained, Marybeth, and I don't want to be entertained by, you know, your tragedies, but your life is just so entertaining and inspiring for me to hear. Thank you for sharing. I know those are very private moments too. So I appreciate it. And nobody, and I never told anyone on Bell's this, but I actually also got West Nile virus. I was not tested, but I was sick for 6 months and had this huge welt on my thigh. And my doctor said it was, but that they weren't going to spend thousands of dollars testing me for it because there was nothing they could do if I had it. So I never thought that, but hearing your story just touched me so much more because of it. So I think you should move on with what you're doing. You're so talented, so talented. What everyone just said, I can't even have words for it. So thank you, everyone else who said those things. Thank you. My hair's getting all humid now, so I might get off screen soon.
Thank you very much.
May I?
Oh,
John.
John.
Oh,
Mary Beth, after hearing this story, I'm gonna now start calling you, like we call RD, the Miracle Man. I'm gonna call you Miracle Mary. The fact that it's almost maybe comparable to like losing a page with this reading. Something was lost, perhaps with that moment in your life where you were kind of at near death or death's door. And here you are, and you're almost kind of like dancing like a butterfly again, I echo what Nancy was saying about your carefreeness. You just have this really effortless effort that you just kind of exude, and it's kind of fanciful, and you dance with the rhythms, and I almost wanted you to, I could feel you were trying to do some sort of improv, like stand up and act out the parts of this narration, and feel free to do it next time. I almost maybe sensing the red dress was trying to bring that out of you. But I think we all can identify with a lot of parts of that story. I think we all wanted to have interactive parenting, more interactive parenting back in the day. And unfortunately, I think all of us can attest that we probably endured a lot more cruise control parenting, where it's kind of, they're out there, whatever. I know RD and Heather and I, we were remarking about the imprints of childhood and how that still comes to surface. And, to Tammy's point, we're still dealing with the, kind of the effed up nature of the way people parented back then. But, I think our parents did the best they can. And oftentimes, we're still kind of having a self-reckoning of understanding where they were at that point in time, things they didn't know about as we do now. But here you are, you're still standing, you're still strong and graceful, and thank you. And I love the purity of this story. You really tapped into kind of like that childlike nature of you, which I feel is always right there whenever I see you on the screen. And of course, when I saw you in person, and she is too. So bravo. I'm going to do one, and Beth, one better. She had the footprints, but I tried to look in my liquor cabinet for 20-year McClellan, but I only have 15-year McClellan. So this is for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really great. Thank you so much. I thought I could it was like I said, the draft of a one-person show, and I thought in the last moment I could just in the moment read it like a piece. So you guys were wonderful for your like expansiveness of your letting me just have the space. So I couldn't have found all the stuff that I found in the reading if it wasn't for you guys, because I was like, so it was really a wonderful experience to be able to do. So thank you. I exceeded the criteria, but I appreciate that you guys,
Oh,
it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I remember the stuff, and just, yeah, thank you.
and Dee.
Mary Beth, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. I always love listening to you anyway. You're so funny. You're so, you know what it is? You're so true. You're so honest and vulnerable. And that's why I say, like, every word that comes out of your mouth, like, to me, it's just like, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because it's just so real and it's so unedited, and your story was just amazing and heart-wrenching in places where I so related. I went to this horrific Catholic school too, where later in family therapy, where of course we ended up, me and my kids, you know, when she said, well, what school did you go to? And I went elementary school. And I said, oh, St. Joseph's. And she went, oh, I'm sorry. She said, we have a lot of clients that went to St. Joseph's. So I was like, wow, it was like validation. But that unless you experience that Catholic school abuse and that horror, like other people just don't get it, you know, how horrible it was, you know, and how defenseless you were as a child and how monstrous these big people in charge of you were, and bigger than life. They were even bigger than your parents because your parents wouldn't even defend you to them, you know. So like you felt so batted about. And I used to play sick all the time not to have to go to school, all the time. And, you know, your story about your mom ironing, oh God, trying to get your mother's attention was just like, you might as well set yourself on fire, you know. I remember my mother would try really hard to get away from everybody and go sit in a far corner and read a book, and she would pet the dog quietly while she read her book. And I would sneak up and sit next to the dog and go, Mom, would you pet me too? Would you pet me like you pet the dog? You know, it was just so cute. And to hear that you were going through the same thing, it was like, oh God, it was like parallel lives, you know, amazing. The story of the bakery was hilarious. And then it's hilariously funny. And then shoot, you know, it just turns around and becomes like terrifying. Like, my God, you know, I don't know if you're going to get stabbed or what this guy was going to do to you. I mean, it was just, the way you told the story was absolutely brilliant. You know, and again, like you, my mother, had Alzheimer's and dementia, you know, as she got older, and we began to get along so well. It's like they drop whatever defenses or what, like, you know, I guess all their own hurts or something just kind of go away, and they just become like their core selves, like their loveliness comes out or something, their vulnerability comes out, you know, and then they're able to bond with you. It's such an experience, such an evolution, you know, and the way you told the story of being in the hospital, it's like you're just brilliant. You're so brilliant. And I just always love to hear you speak on anything you talk about. You fascinate me. You crack me up, you know. It was wonderful. I just can't thank you enough for being with us and for sharing yourself with us, you know, because I really love you. Thank you.
So much. I love you. Oh, God. Make me cry.
Yeah, me too.
I appreciate that so much.
It's all true.
And Linda or Barbara or Jeanette?
But how do I follow that? How do I follow that? Shucks. Well, it was just really, really beautiful, Marybeth. Your writing is very, very colorful and detailed. And as Judy said, that's not an essay. That in no way is that an essay. That's a full story that can become a book or anything you want it to be. It was just really, really, really awesome and amazing. Funny, really funny. What was it about the brains that fell on the ice that got me? The brains that fell on the ice. In that porno shop with the chocolate tits and stuff. That was hilarious. But then right after that, there's this fear because this person has a knife. So yeah, so there's that incredible funny bone that you touch, and then there's this other stuff that goes on. And like so many people are saying, you really are, you're simply amazing. In the face of so much adversity, you're able to get past it, pick up your marbles and move forward. And I admire that. I really admire that a lot. Tammy is on point. Yeah, parents fucked us up and we fuck up our children. It's just crazy. It's really, really crazy, but that your story is just really, really amazing. I think I said it's very colorful. Indeed. I like the way you describe things in a very, very colorful, detailed and colorful way. Really, really beautiful. And thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your humor. Thank you for your artistry in writing this story. Don't stop, write more. And as Nancy said, keep being Mary Beth. There is only one of you in all the universe. Just keep being you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Can't hear. Can't hear. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was, again, I can't say enough of how terrific you are and your whole presentation and the story. And I had a friend, a lot of parts of it I saw in other people that I knew. For instance, I had a friend whose mother was always ironing. And those things were, those images, I mean, it is a great production. I could see you doing a whole production of this story, and there would be chapters, and then the lights would change or the screen would come back out, and then you do another part of it, and they were all just amazing stories. And the story in the bakery, I was at first how you presented it, that you thought that this guy was a flasher, and then I mean, what could be worse than a flasher? Well, it was worse. It was worse. So it was like that sort of tied into some kind of humor. I don't know how it tied into humor, but it did. And somehow you twist things around. And I don't know if I'm sure you are aware of a lot of it, but it was just terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I just want to quickly, and I won't say anything else, just hop on what Judy said. I see this stage and it's dark except for you in the middle, and there's a spotlight, and then over one corner the lights go up and there's one part of your story, the ironing board, and you do your thing, and then that goes black, then the lights go up and there's the bakery, that goes black, you do your thing, and then the lights go up and there's the hospital bed. I mean, I can just see this happening on this stage off Broadway somewhere, I don't know, just on Broadway. I just think it would be so fabulous, and I can just see it, and you doing all the characters and the voices like Heather said, just fantastic.
Thank you. Do you do lights?
I do.
Oh, okay.
My ex-husband was a musician, and when he was on the road, I used to love doing the lights. I would do that once in a while when like a light person wouldn't show up. So yes, I do lights. I like being up there.
Great. We'll get little pieces and it'll be the bells on Broadway.
The bells of Broadway.
Okay. I could be the stage manager. I've done that.
It would be Bells of Broadway Productions.
Yeah. And the lights could be different people's, whoever wanted to, little segments.
Mm.
It could move the stage if we wanted. There's all kinds of things.
You could have lots of layers of
Think about it.
curtains, and they draw back a curtain, another curtain. There's more. There's always more.
Right. Oh God.
Yeah, think about it.
Great
That's a
idea.
great idea. Great idea. Think about that. Mm.
And Linda?
Morning, everyone. Mary Beth, that was fantastic. Beautiful story, beautiful sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable. I second and third what everyone has said already. Very colorful and very animated, and you're truly inspiring to me. You really are, and you're a sweetheart. You're a sweetheart. I can relate to how you want, parents to be the way they would want to be, and I like mine, like everybody else said, it's difficult because they're really not. So, but you were able to persevere through that. And then the bakery scene also, yes, that was definitely interesting. So it was funny and then it was scary. So but you got through it and you did a great job. So wonderful, Mary Beth. Bravo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
Love you.
you. Too. Thank you.
And Jeanette, can you unmute yourself? I muted you.
Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are, Jeanette.
Great, great. I don't know a lot of the bells because I've only been, a few times. And so at first I wasn't getting it. I thought, okay, what's going on here? And then listening to everyone, it started to have me see more of Marybeth and what she was doing. And I was so inspired, and I went from, the left to the right, because, as I said, I wasn't getting it at the beginning. And now I can see she's a great writer. I loved actually the bakery. I thought that was just colorful and
chocolate too.
yeah, exactly. And so I really was able to, through all the bells, listening to them, talking about her, talking about the presentation that she did, I was able to get it and really appreciate what she had presented to us. And it also, I so many things that everyone talked about, Catholic school, oh my gosh, things like that. So thank you so much for inspiring me. And now I want to do an essay to present to everyone at some point along the way. So thank you so much, Marybeth, and thank all the bells for having me understand what I was doing and how I was appreciating everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, the biggest takeaway is what John was saying about Marybeth. Miracle Mary. I just love that. I think you should definitely ingrain that into your aura and continue forward. And you definitely had an incredible platform for us. I don't know, for me, I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciated listening to all your different voices, the characters that passed through your life. I mean, it was, it's so the detail of, and the description of some of the scenes. I mean, it was crying, it was laughing, it was touching, it was absolutely beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing. And as Nancy was saying, even though you really didn't skip a beat, even though you missed the page somewhere, because you just continue. And in a way, that is the mark of a fantastic actress. You just keep on going. You don't lose, you don't lose sight of the big picture. You just continue with your story. And so you missed the page. It didn't matter anymore because you still continued and you really didn't miss a beat in reality. So, and I don't know, I just truly got inspired, as Jeanette was saying. I also got inspired by your story and thinking about, my upbringing in relationship, about mothers in general. And as Heather was saying, it's a universality of all of us growing up. And yes, even though I didn't go to Catholic school, even though, I went to public school, but of course we always made fun of the people who went to Catholic school and all of those types of things. But it's just part of life that we all experience. And, but it was all very universal. And thank you so much for sharing it. It was absolutely brilliant. I suppose I would call it brilliant. Anybody else want to say anything? Well, I'm just having a little bit of a moment of pause here.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned your Italian girlfriend. My best friend growing up was Italian also, and her parents were like right off the boat. Their house, there was never a dull second in their home, and everything they said to each other was done at like top volume. You know, everybody shouted, and everything was a big deal. It was emotional, and you know, my family was just like everybody was, unless they were like yelling at each other in real true anger. People just kind of like shut up and moved to their far corners. So I loved my friend's house. Like it was always so exciting, and I felt like these people were so real. They have emotions, and they're, you know, like wow, look at how they live. And her father was an opera singer, and he was always in the other room like vocalizing. It was such an incredible house to be in, and mine was just like so boring and awful in comparison. It's just so funny, like to hear you say that, and then I thought, wow, that was another. After I shut up before, and I thought, wow, that's so funny. And I had an Italian friend too, like you did. There's so many parallels. It's so funny, you know, and how we compare, and how God, I wish my family was like her family. And now, like in retrospect, it's like forget it. We were all our families were nuts, you know. Just life, you know.
Well, here we all are.
Yeah.
We've all survived, and here we are. Judy.
Well, I feel like this is like a wet blanket on everything, but I have to say that my mother was like the worst, like everybody's mother, but I did have a absolutely wonderful family life. And because my father was a musician, and that we had, they practiced every Friday night at our house. And so there was always music, and my mother cooked. So, you know, during the breaks, she would always make hors d'oeuvres and things. And it was very lively, and people came. Also, my mother did cook. So Sunday mornings, we'd see people coming down our driveway, and there was always another chair. We could always pull up another chair, you know. So it was, I feel like I did have a very wonderful life, even though my relationship with my mother was probably one of the worst. I'll say it was the worst. But anyway, that's.
But at least she cooked.
She did cook, yes, and we did have Sunday dinners, and people came. There was always another chair to pull up, and yeah, she did cook, and she was talented in a lot of ways, but she was not motherly. Let me put that.
Right.
It was a difficult time, I guess. It was a difficult time for everyone at that time after the war. So, yeah.
Well,
The only reason I say that is I have a friend whose mother didn't even cook for them, and she would have to go in the cabinet and open up a can of beans and eat out of the can. And I was like, oh, I can't imagine growing up that way with not even having food on the table. That you just have to go, you know, forage for yourself in the cabinet. Like,
yeah, I had a friend like that too in college, and she said they had to go, her and her sister, they go into the freezer and get brownies for dinner. You know, they had no food.
no food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe we'll just do a nice meditation together. How about that? And Barbara, may I ask that maybe you can do the closing? Would that be okay? Yes. Oh, that would be great. Thank you. And so I'm going to mute everybody and mute everybody.
You're gonna stop the recording?
Oh, I'm going to stop the recording. Okay.